Brothers in Tech is a weekly podcast focused on personal and home technology, helping provide you, our fellow brothers and sisters in tech, with some information, assistance, and recommendations. Hello, everyone. This is Brothers in Tech. My name is Alan Jackson. Off to my right, if you're watching on video, is the illustrious Brian Jackson, my brother.
The illustrious. Wow.
Yeah. I'm trying some new words this week.
Okay.
Illustrious came up, so I had to weave it into the podcast somehow.
Is this like a New Year's resolution or something? Or
it's kind of a challenge I'm putting on myself to use a new word every day. I had not had a chance to use illustrious all day today, and you popped up on the screen. I'm like, well, there you go. That's it.
That makes sense. That
Done.
makes sense.
The day is checked off.
It's incredibly stupendous of you. Very nice. Yeah.
Stupendous. Okay, good. That's good.
Sorry, let me write that down.
I'm going to use that tomorrow.
I got that one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Brian Jackson, Alan Jackson. We are brothers, and we are brothers in tech for the purpose of this show. We get together every week and we talk technology, mainly home, family, personal technology, kind of getting technology to work for you in your personal life. Whether it be for your family, whether it be things around the home. We talk a lot of home automation. We talk software and apps and everything else that people use on a regular basis, and how to maybe use them better or learn more about them. And Brian, I got a lot of stuff we wanted to do tonight. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous because I don't know.
Because I was actually
there are things I'd like to do later tonight, but whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I figure 3-4 hours, that should be fine. You're good for that.
That's probably what I'm assuming.
See, what happens, Brian, when we say we're going to do a typical show, we say, we'll be done in 45 minutes. And it's like an hour and a half later, we're still going. If I go ahead and say, no, I think this is going to be like a 2-hour show, then it's probably going to be 4. You okay with that?
Okay. I was hoping you'd go the opposite way to say, if they say it's going to be 4, maybe we'll get done in about 45 minutes.
Oh, there you go. No, actually, I like that logic. So let's go ahead and say it's going to be a 3-hour show, and hopefully you'll be done within 1. I am actually going to target an hour because I do have a ball game to watch at 9, and I'm sorry, but that's maybe just a hair more important than doing this recording.
I'd like to see how you operate when you're motivated here. So this is good.
I'm motivated to actually get done on time. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Yeah. Well, so here's what we're going to do tonight. Got a couple of news items I want to kind of throw at you, Brian. A couple of home tech related news items I thought were kind of interesting. I would like to get your take on. That's okay. And then you and I are going to have a little discussion. We're going to talk about and help talk with our audience about software, the ways you buy software now. Whether the traditional model was you buy your software, you buy a program, you own that program, you make a big one-time purchase to buy that software. Now the world is shifting to subscription software, and we're going to kind of compare the two ways of buying software, kind of tell you where things work, maybe where you need to be careful as well. And looking at before you jump into any kind of subscription-based software. So we're going to talk about that. And then you and I, we just had Christmas, just had holiday recently.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, man.
Same to you. Yeah. Same to you. And you and I at least have an item or two each that we got and acquired during the holiday season that we're going to want to show off, kind of in the spirit of home technology. So we got a few items to share with that. So we'll do that at the end of the show, kind of share our newest tech from the holiday season. And very excited, Brian. I have a piece of tech to show at the end of this show that it's probably my favorite piece of tech I've ever bought.
Oh God, here we go.
Yep.
You were destined for failure. You know that, right? By getting so excited about this.
It's a new backup drive.
I've never been so excited.
It is. It's a glorious. No, it's something new. It's a home technology device. We're going to show that towards the end of the program. Okay.
Well, I'm excited.
Let's jump into a couple news items I want to share first. Just some, as we're kind of staying in the spirit of talking about home technology, and you and I talked about the news of a new technology that's being rolled out to help with home automation. Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked before how frustrating it is still to go and buy devices for your home automation, because there are 3 different platforms that you could buy them for. if you're trying to tie them into a ecosystem in your home. You've got the Google. What do they call their platform now? Is it just Google Home?
I think it's just Google Home.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You got the Amazon Alexa
Yep.
Side of things, where something could work with that, or you've got the Apple HomeKit. And that's all the camps. Kind of been before that you've had to pick one of those camps and say, okay, that's what I'm going to kind of invest in. If you go to Amazon and you go the Google route, you got a little more flexibility because most everything I see that works with Google also works with Amazon and vice versa. But if you decide to go the HomeKit route, you're pretty much having to decide that pretty right off the bat. Because if it doesn't work with HomeKit, now everything you can get will work pretty much with Google or Amazon, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah.
A collection of those things will also work with HomeKit for Apple. So you kind of have to make some decisions. But we talked about a new technology that they're rolling out called Matter. And this idea is that all these different manufacturers have kind of come together and said, we're going to adopt a standard that we can start rolling out into devices and manufacturers can start using that will allow these home automation devices to start communicating to each other better. What that means is it technically eliminates those silos of HomeKit or Alexa or Google. You still would use, the Home app on your Apple device to control your devices, but you don't have to worry about going to a store and saying, well, will this work with my HomeKit and looking for that little logo. The idea is that if it works with Matter, technically it should work with all the platforms.
Right.
Obviously, right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
which will be a welcomed change if it works the way it sounds like it should.
Yeah.
It's a little bummer for the things that you already have, kind of switching to a new platform. But hopefully just buying new things from here on will still be able to work with your old stuff as long as you're not switching different platforms, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you can't, everything should work fine. It would just be a matter of if you bought, for whatever reason, a device. If you bought a device that was a HomeKit only device in the past, it's not going to automatically be upgraded to work with Matter. Now, some manufacturers have said they can roll it out in a firmware update, but I don't think a lot of them have come out and committed to doing that. So I don't know. I wouldn't count on any backwards compatibility. But the thing is, if you already have like a HomeKit device in your home, it's still going to work. Right. Even when you start adding in Matter devices, it's just now everything works together a little better. I wish we could go back in time and I could go get some older devices that are still for sale at Best Buy or someplace right now, and they would automatically work, but they're not going to. But it was really nice to see an announcement I just saw today. Eve, a manufacturer of a lot of home automation devices. You got smart plugs, you got sensors and other things that they sell. I don't know if they've ever sold anything that was HomeKit compatible. They could have, but I've never owned anything that was. My gut feeling is I think this is fairly new for them, but they're rolling out a line of devices come March. So here in just a couple months that are going to be Matter enabled. And the idea is that you do not need a hub for any of these. They will work with the native platform you already have. So if you are a HomeKit user, they'll work with your HomeKit. They'll work with whatever device you've got set up in your home as your HomeKit hub, and they'll communicate with that. There's no additional hub needed for Eve. Same thing on the Alexa and Google front as well. So I'm just already excited to see. I think that was a little quicker than I kind of expected them to start rolling out, to know that here in a couple months, we're going to start seeing these devices showing up in places. And that's exciting. And plus Eve makes a pretty good wide assortment of devices. So the fact that they're coming out with a whole new line of devices in March that will work with Matter, which means I can buy them and they're going to work for me. Yeah. You could buy them for you. Everybody can buy them and they're going to be great. So
no, that's exciting. I haven't actually never used anything from Eve, but I have heard of them. And so, I mean, to me, it's great. The downside of this is, just as we said a minute ago, this is not something where you can say, oh, I'm going to go ahead and change now to HomeKit. I've been an Alexa person. I'm going to switch to HomeKit because now everything works together. If I do that, which is kind of my goal, eventually I'd like to move to HomeKit. I think it's a better interface. I'm going to have all new equipment, right? So I'm either going to be looking for old equipment that has been HomeKit enabled, or hopefully new Matter equipment from here on. So,
yeah.
but regardless, I mean, that just provides a greater, option for me. That was one of the things that held me back from using HomeKit, was because there just weren't enough products really to make it worthwhile, or at least inexpensive products to be able to use. So, so that's a positive. But
well, two things on that. One, I really could swear, and I'd have to look it back up, so I apologize, I don't have it at my fingertips, but I could swear that I saw that some manufacturers are going to be able to roll out Matter upgrades to existing devices through a firmware update. Now, I could be wrong.
That's fantastic.
I hope that's the case.
Yep.
But I think we got to just be prepared that I don't think a lot of them are going to do it for devices that are so much older. I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's a simple update for any of their devices. So that's one thing to watch out for.
Potentially anything that came out in the last year on the previous platform, they may have the need or desire to go and upgrade via firmware and kind of put some time and energy into it. But we'll see. But you're right. It's all good, right? There's nothing bad about this development. Of course,
and I still say, I think I said this even a few months ago when we first started talking about this. I see this as a complete win for Apple users that want to use HomeKit, because there was never an issue with people saying there weren't enough home devices for my Google or Amazon platform. There's tons. Everything you see in the store works with Google or Amazon. But now HomeKit users can actually say, oh, I can actually walk into my department store, electronics store, get a device in the future, and know it's going to work with my setup. So Apple users really come out on the positive on this side.
Yeah.
If they're wanting to stay with HomeKit for sure. So
it's
good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. So that's one news item I want to share. I was excited about. Now here's another one, Brian. I'm going to bring this up only because we've talked a lot about health devices in the past, kind of devices for monitoring your health or tracking your fitness or health goals. And, every year it seems like we get some deeper capabilities for how we're monitoring our own health through devices we wear or come into contact with. So saw this product get announced. It is a home urine lab. It is called the U-Scan. It is a device that is going to sit right on the inside of your toilet bowl. Okay. And its goal is to take health metric data from your urine that's in your bowl. Okay. So it is 90 millimeters in diameter. It sits within the bowl, and it gives you an immediate snapshot of the body's balance by monitoring, detecting a large variety of biomarkers found in urine, while also offering actionable advice for health improvements. So some of the things, as you can see, this is what's on the inside of it. And it's just got a nice plastic casing around it to, of course, keep it, I guess, to allow the liquid to come in as it's needed to, and it does its analysis on the inside. And everything feeds back into an app that can also connect to Apple Health or any other kind of health platform as well.
Yeah.
Nutrition, hydration, it's going to be tracking that kind of thing for you. Ovulation schedules for women, it can do that as well. Let's see what else does it tell you it can do. I just thought this sounded really, really cool, really interesting.
Does it list some of the data? I mean, is it things like,
I was looking for that
detecting
it did.
iron, detecting hydration? I wonder if what's some of the results that might come out.
It's a good question.
Like you just had asparagus, that you've been drinking too much the last 24 hours. I don't know. Because I love the idea. I mean, I love any sort of data you can get health wise without being invasive. And it seems to be something that can happen fairly often.
I'm looking right now to see if I can see like specifically what it's measuring. Well, it's a cartridge based. You're going to have to put in a new cartridge looks like about 3 months.
Okay.
It says 3 months worth of testing. So it has about 100 biomarker results it can track within one cartridge. I just don't see a list of everything that it actually will track.
Yeah.
I'm sure that list is somewhere, but the main reason I bring it up, Brian, I think anytime we have something that can be tracking our health and monitoring things and giving us recommendations or advice based on where we're falling without us having to do anything, without it having to be something that is a conscious effort we have to put into place. To me, that's where it's kind of exciting. So I like this. I mean, going to the restroom, something we all do, and it's a common thing. And, you're doing it anyway. If it's going to turn into something that can also be helpful data for us, I'm all for it.
Right.
I think it's great. Now, I will say, how much would you think something like this, a system like this would cost? Just first blush, just looking at it.
Gosh, I don't know. I would hope it'd be under $100, but no.
It's about $500.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the cartridges? Would you say?
I don't know that.
Yeah.
Probably
like a continual.
Not too far off from that.
Yeah, I would imagine another $50 to $100 on a cartridge, maybe. I mean, it's it's the first run at one of these things. I imagine there'll be some others that will jump into the game, or at least there'll be some additional enhancements they can go into. But I love the idea. Now, I am a little concerned that the placement of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, for a male, it seems problematic. If it wants to get an accurate reading, I don't know what direction you tend to stand, Alan, but that doesn't seem to be my target as much. So, I don't know if this is a sitting target, predominantly. Certainly it seems like where it's placed, that's going to be based on the flush itself, right? The water of the flush, right? But
yeah, well, see, I guess I'm imagining that they probably have enough research to know where it needs to be. And if you're saying it doesn't look like it'd be compatible with you, then that just means your habits are very
well,
odd.
I'm probably going to need to think about my habits. I mean, I've never really paid attention to others as much. So maybe I'm doing it wrong, I guess. Maybe it'll tell me.
The installation of this device causes us all to question, have we been doing it wrong all this time?
Man,
interesting.
I mean, that's not where the Cheerios were when I was a kid, where you got target practice. So I
remember that. Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, good.
It's really a good thing that not too many people are listening right now.
Yeah.
But
So I guess the good news is that if either of us decide to take the plunge,
nice.
And get this later on, we not only will learn things about our health, but we'll also learn, have we been using the toilet correctly for this entire time we've been alive or not? So
it's it's probably time we learn. It's probably time. So all right, well, that's cool.
I love it. I mean, it's they're unveiling it at CES here shortly. So great. It's still cutting edge new technology, but it will be coming out at some point. And again, I think it just is still showing us that there's still a lot of momentum behind devices that can help us track our health. And as unobtrusive as that technology can be, the better it's going to be for all of us. So
and potentially more sanitary, right? I mean, if you wanted to test that urine in any other way, you'd have to. There's no wireless connection on the up to this.
That's
point.
true.
So yeah, nice.
That could be it. So that is the UScan. It's by a company called Withings.
Yeah,
and that is coming out there now. They're going to be unveiling it at CES in early 2023, and we'll hear about it later in the year, I'm sure, and see when it becomes available, and see if either of us take the plunge to try it out. So
nice.
I really didn't intend to say plunge again. That just kind of happened. So.
Yeah, it's just natural. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So yeah, a couple of interesting news items I wanted to share on the home technology side of things. So,
well,
so Brian, let's talk.
You're flush full of it tonight, Alan. It's good. It's good.
Yes. My bowl does seem to be running over with lots of great information tonight. So let's talk about our main topic. We were going to talk about software subscription. So
yes, yeah.
And I'll tell you the reason I suggested we talk about this for a little bit, Brian, is because I actually had somebody ask me the question just this week, where they were presented with an option of saying, look, I think actually it was for QuickBooks, big accounting software. It's like, well, I got the option. Do I need to go subscription based where, I go online and pay a subscription, or should I purchase the software? And we got into a big discussion about, well, here are really your pros and cons. And it did get me realizing that I'm sure as more and more options for buying programs and software are coming available, that may be a question a lot of people are having as well. So I thought we'd kind of talk about it a little bit here. Brian, kind of when we talk about subscription software versus purchase software, I mean, what are we really talking about here? What's the difference between the two ideas?
Well, I mean, the subscription model is something that's become kind of the standard as of the last, let's say 10 years, 10 years. It's kind of progressed towards the subscription model and things. And that's not something that was the case before that. Before that, when people put together software and wanted to monetize it and sell it, it was buy this software, a one-time price. It was usually a larger price. Maybe you were paying $20, $30, $50, $100, whatever for a piece of software, but you owned that software. Mm-hmm. That was your software. They couldn't take it away from you. They couldn't take any of the features away from you. And then they're often, what they were banking on was you buying and then you liking it so much to when they put out a new version of it 2 years down the road, that you buy the new version or you buy an upgrade version.
Yeah.
And I think that what people started to realize, Alan, is that that's great for a big push to try to get that software out the door, but it took so much money for these software developers to create that software that then they weren't able to fund their next project, or they weren't having a steady income coming in to allow them to continue to do their work. So, so it seemed like to me, most of the trade-off has been, now we can let you, it's like we're letting you rent it, but renting it for, you own it, but you own it with our constant updates. Like we're basically going to give you the best of what we have, as long as you're doing this rental model, right? So it is changing from kind of a home ownership to renting, and knowing that the rental is always going to be taken care of, right? Yeah. That the rental, the landlord, it's always taking care of everything. You're always going to have things fixed. And that was the problem, right? If you bought a software for $100, and then 5 years down the road it did not work with your new computer that you just purchased, where you were stuck because you bought the old version. And
a lot of times too, with bought software, the service and support was provided for a certain amount of time,
right? 1 year of service, 1 year.
So if you pay $100 for a piece of software and they say, okay, with this purchase you get 1 year of support, meaning you can call us or write us or email us with any questions and we'll help you fix it. But then after that year runs out, you're on your own.
Yep.
You're right. With a subscription model, technically the software will be updated and could be repaired and fixed along the way, as long as you keep paying the subscription model price. Now, another thing, Brian, too, I think is important about the purchase model is from a price standpoint. Like you said, the purchase software was typically more expensive. I also think that software developers were seeing that maybe some of their software had a little bit of a price barrier going on, where somebody really wants to get Photoshop and really wants to use it, but it may be a $500 piece of software to buy. It's like, well, okay, we if we sell it for $500, which is where we need to be selling it at, where we want to be selling it at, we're not going to get the open penetration of the marketplace as much as we could if we changed it to a model where you pay a much, much, much smaller amount per month to gain access to the software. So somebody who said, instead of paying $500, I can now pay $35 a month and get access to all this software. Oh, that's a great deal. That's what I'm going to do. So
Right.
it was just as much, it was just as much the trying to flow out revenue and have more constant streams of revenue going on, but it was also just to open up potential new customers that saw that purchase software as a big barrier to their entry for use of it. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, trying to get more of a casual user to come in and say, well, that's not that much money, per month. Not realizing that, or not, I thought they're not realizing, but that the company is then hoping that that person is happy. And if they're happy or forget about the subscription, one or the other, that they've got a constant revenue stream, right? They've got people kind of paying constantly, which allows them to put time and effort into maintaining that software. So again, I mean, I think the analogy of buying a home versus renting a home is a pretty good one. That, if I'm going to a new city and I don't really know yet whether or not that's a place I want to live, well, I'm probably not wanting to spend a ton of money going in and committing long term. Well, if I say Photoshop sounds great, it sounds like something I'd love to do, but a few $100s to get an entry point to know if I love it or not is pretty hard to do. But $30 to get into it and know that, yes, by the time I realize, yes, I love it, now I'm into this model to where I don't want to get rid of it. So I think that, a lot of companies that were really maybe proud of their software, but couldn't get that entry point, and they were very confident in their software, knew that if they could get you in with a teaser, with a small entry point, that you'd stay. And all of a sudden their budgeting becomes a lot easier, right? They're looking for users as opposed to selling everything all up front and then having to, maintain that money over a period of time before they put their next product out. So,
well, and if you do the math on it, I mean, I think somewhere I'd read that there's different points for different companies based on the type of software, but there is a magic inflection point where if they get a monthly subscriber who subscribes for X amount of time, so many months, so many, whatever that time period may be, and pays that monthly subscription fee on that monthly basis, at a certain point, you've technically paid now more than you would have if you had bought the software in the first place. And then there's, of course, like you mentioned with purchase software, they want you to pay for upgrades. If you bought the software, they may 3 years later come out with a whole nother version that they want you to buy outright, or maybe buy at a discounted price. But they do all the math on that to see, okay, well, if we instead got somebody paying a subscription, they're going to pay us the same amount per month, a much smaller amount. But after the 20th month or something like that, technically we are now making more money from them than we would have if they were buying our software outright. So there's definitely a calculation going. They're banking on people using their software for a longer period of time. And probably with the idea that if somebody's going to rent it and only use the subscription software for a few months, they probably were not going to pay full price for it, purchase one anyway. So that's new revenue that's a new user they would not have had in the first place. So
And with something like software, it's not like they have, a limit of what they're selling, right? I mean, they can sell as many of those licenses as people want to buy or people want to subscribe to, as opposed to trying to decide if you turn your house into a rental or you sell it, right? You have that one thing. So you've got to make a really, good decision about this, but with that one item that you're trying to get rid of. But if I have software that I could have 10,000 people buy it, I could have one person buy it, and it's still the same software still the same effort it took to put it together. So I think that's the real the question that most developers are going through right now is, should we be in this subscription model or should we be in a purchase model? Do we need money up front, to try to make our money back for what we've been putting into developing the software? Or are we looking for something that will maintain us over a period of time? So, so you're bringing up a kind of the new classic example here, right?
Well, I just want to bring up a couple of examples. On the screen, I've got a shot from Microsoft's website just to show, these are big companies that have rolled out subscriptions in the last couple of years. So, Office 365 or the Microsoft Office suite, kind of a mainstay of computing productivity. A lot of people have it. This is the one, Brian, that where things started to kind of change for me a few years ago, because Microsoft Office was the product that I was so used to knowing that every few years I'm going to have to purchase a whole nother version.
Yeah.
Because you buy the software. It used to be, it came to some disk or floppies or whatever. Now it's downloadable. But I still knew that, okay, I've got the 2012 Microsoft Office. And I know that come 2014, they're going to roll out another version. And more than likely, there's going to be an upgrade cost to get that new version. And of course, the new versions are going to have new features, are going to be better compatible with newer devices, newer systems. So you want to stay up to date. I never liked using a software version that was much older than the current one they've got released. So they had their hooks in me with that purchase every 2 or 3 years or so, it seemed like. And, we had licenses too for a business. We had a lot of employees using it. So we had a big license we had to pay for that purchased software every year. Because when we buy it, we had to buy it from multiple people and computers. So moving to the subscription model with Microsoft was kind of where I kind of saw things really start to shift. It caused me to really rethink about how we handle subscription software, because, for $9.99 a month for a group of, 1 to 6 people, you can have a subscription to all of the Microsoft Office products online for $10 a month. Now you do the math on that. Over a year, you pay $120. I think if I remember correctly, like, a full license of Microsoft Office, used to go for like $100 and some dollars. It was pretty pricey.
Yep.
So right away, a year and a half into this, I'm paying the same amount I would have if I'd bought the software. If I pay this $9.99 a month for 2 years, I'm probably technically paying more than I would have if I'd bought the software. But for a lot of people, $10 a month is a much easier pill to swallow than $150 one time. So it's just a good example of it. It's kind of that, can I recommend to people that they do a subscription model on something like Microsoft Office? I feel like I probably can, only because they do make it very easy and compatible to do a software service. You can install it on multiple devices. They let you put it on mobile devices as well. They throw in some extra features like cloud storage you have available to you to use. And they make it easy. And, if you needed Microsoft Office for a short-term project you're working on, you need it for like 3 or 4 months, it's a great deal. If you're planning on using it long-term, I don't know. It's a tough call, Brian. I go back and forth because, when I started doing the math, I'm like, well, probably would have been better just to buy the software. I don't even think they give you that option anymore, though. Do they?
Microsoft does allow you to do full versions. I know for education, they still allow like students to do a full version. $50.
So right now there's a home and student 2021 version. Granted, it's 2021, so it's already a little on the older side. It's not the latest version that you get with the subscription. It's $150. So if you bought a monthly subscription for Microsoft at $10 a month, after 15 months, you're paying more than you would have to buy it. However, like I said, the online subscription version does stay more up to date.
Right.
Because they have rolled out a 2022 updates to Microsoft Office, and those got automatically rolled out to subscription models. But if you buy the software, you're buying the 2021 version, and you'll have to worry about, hopefully they pass out updates to you along the way once you bought the software.
Yeah. So. And it's also that it's changing, right? Microsoft is changing the model of, software versus the 365 kind of, online storage, that sort of thing. So there's a greater number of features that you get if you're into the subscription model. And that's really smart that a company is doing that they, if you've been around a while, like Photoshop, if Photoshop says, hey, listen, we're happy to sell you our old version and you can buy it outright and you can have it forever because we're done with it. We're not updating it anymore. It's already there, right? We already have the download. We can, pay us one-time fee and you can get that. Or, you can come with us and pay us per month and you'll continue to get the new things. I think they're probably hoping that people maybe do a little bit of both, right? If someone says, "Hey, that's a really good deal just to buy it outright," and then realize in 2 or 3 years that there's some features they really wish they had.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think it's a really good analogy to think about. Something like Microsoft. I feel pretty confident that if they were to still sell the newest version, that I would feel confident buying it, knowing that, well, I'm still going to be using this in 3 or 4 years, right? I mean, that's a software I expect to be using. If you're not sure you're going to be using it, well, then I think the subscription model makes a ton of sense. If you feel like you need the latest version of things, if it is a type of software that is constantly adapting, maybe there's new standards that are in place and you're in an industry that needs kind of those new standards to be compatible, then I feel like that's also a model for subscription. So I think that there's a few decisions that have to be made. Are you confident in the software? Are you confident in the fact that you're going to need it and use it for a long period of time in the future?
Yeah.
Okay, let's maybe on for a minute. Let's take Microsoft off of the table here, right? Because I think that's a tricky one, and that know they're going to need that. But if we said, listen, I'm a new software developer. I came up with a brand new thing. Everybody seems to love it, but it's new. People don't know enough about it yet. And if I go and say, hey, listen, come buy this for $100, my guess is there's not going to be a ton of usage, right? You're going to have to have enough people for a long enough time that are going to use it, talk good about it. That subscription model makes a ton of sense, right? It's like you get them in the system, and then they see that they love it. And maybe I'm a well-established company enough that I feel like I'm going to be able to put updates out, and people are going to see the value in being part of my subscription. And then you roll forward. Yeah. I've not been a big fan of subscription myself. I think we talked about this before.
I know you
right?
haven't. Yeah.
I just, financially, I'm always doing the numbers, and I hate seeing, things that are coming out every month, knowing how they're racking up, even though those numbers are small. I mean, put it this way: if you told me right now I could buy, 5 years of Netflix for, $100, or $150 or something, I'm much more likely to do that, so that I can say, all right, now I know what I have. Budgeting's done, right? It's like it's all good. But
see, I think, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, but if you're concerned that, hey, in 6 months maybe Netflix isn't the thing anymore, and Netflix isn't the the company, or they're not going to have cool stuff, then of course they've got you, right? They've got you in this nugget. I'm actually surprised though on their side that they're not making opportunities for people to go ahead and subscribe for a year, because I think that they would be winning if that was the case, right? I mean, you've got people, if people would actually say, I'll go ahead and pay for a full year if it saved me $20
at a slightly discounted rate, to do
knowing that streaming services are so volatile right now.
Yeah.
Right. They're really volatile. People are, dropping, adding.
Well, and I feel differently than you do about subscriptions. I've gotten to the point now where honestly, I was looking at my applications list that I have on my computer right now. I don't own a single app. So really, there's not an application. Well, I take that back. I take it back. Apple's video editing, Final Cut Pro, is a one-time purchase app. I do own that.
And is that the only option, or did you?
Yeah, that's the only option. They've never released a subscription model for their software like that. Everything else I've got is subscription based, which I'm kind of surprised by now that I look at that and realize that. I am always more concerned about, is this product going to be what I'm going to be using in 9 months from now, 12 months from now? And I can't say that for sure. I mean, there's maybe only a couple of products I could say with confidence I feel like I will be using in a year's time. And Microsoft Office is not even a definite for me, because
I agree.
I kind of have gone away from using it on a daily basis. I use some of the Mac-based productivity tools a little bit more, and use Google Docs a little bit more, and I just don't rely on Office as much as I did. So I'm kind of glad I'm on a subscription because it could be in a few months I may say, you know what, I'm done. I'm good. I'm going to use these other products. So Adobe, the Creative Cloud, I did want to bring that up because that's kind of to me, a big one. This is one that this was even though Microsoft was kind of momentous to me when it moved to subscription model. Adobe's the one where when this happened, it's like, okay, this is it. This is kind of where we are now as an industry, because that was always the big expensive software, the $500, $600, $700 software for Photoshop, or buying Premiere Pro for video editing was like several $100s for sure too.
Yeah.
Now they've rolled out not only a all-in-one subscription model, their Creative Cloud, that has all of their apps included. You get everything, pick and choose the ones you want to install, and you can have any of them installed on your computer at any time. But they also have subscription packages for individual apps as well. So if you just wanted Photoshop, it's $21 a month. Their stuff is definitely on the more pricey side of any subscription, but then again, their software was also the big dollar software when it was a purchased one. So this, for example, there's alternatives to Photoshop, and I've actually been kind of experimenting with a few, and I could see within a year, I may say, you know what, I don't need Photoshop anymore. So for those situations, I think a subscription model is okay. But I think you're right, Brian. If there is a piece of software that you're pretty locked in, you're like, look, I know I've done the math, and as long as I own this software for at least 15 months or whatever the calculation is, I come out better financially than I would paying a monthly fee. And as long as I feel like I'm still going to get the service and support on it I need, and I definitely will be using it for that time, then I think it's a good deal. It's the right way to go with that. But you got to make some judgments. Software's changing a lot. We're getting a lot of alternatives to some of these big companies and their software products that we used to think we couldn't get rid of. And now it's like there are a lot of alternatives out there. So I have a little hesitation in plunking down, three figures, dollar figures on a piece of software right now. So
I'm with you there. Yeah. I'm with you there.
Now I will tell you the subscription model that I am a big fan of. And I know, Brian, you and I have talked about it before, because I don't know if you are now, but I am
not. I'm not, but I'm missing it.
Yeah. So we've talked about this a few times as a subscription model. It's called Setapp. I'm a huge fan but I have to do the math on this to make sure it works for me. And if it didn't work for me, I wouldn't be doing it. It has to work financially. This gives you a subscription for one monthly fee. You get access to their entire library of applications, and you can pick and choose which ones you want to install on your computer or not. So even though they may give you, 100 apps to choose from, you just install the ones that you want. You could install 100 of them, or you could install one, or anything in between. So at first, when this came out, I had to really do some math and research on it, because I think initially there was only maybe one or two apps I thought, that's probably one I'm going to use all the time. So it wasn't worth a $10 a month subscription, because I thought, well, I've just got one or two apps I need. I could come out better if I did those individually or bought those separately. But I'm to the point now where there's 6 or 7 apps I use from Setapp pretty regularly. And that, to me, that crossed the threshold of saying, yeah, I'm now at a point where paying $10 a month makes sense for me financially to do. So it's just, I think they do a great job with managing the service, and the app you use to install the apps, and uninstalling is very easy if you decide you don't want one anymore. The apps all stay up to date automatically for you. So it's a good deal. So I'm a fan of this form of subscription model for software. But I do say, again, you got to do the math and make sure it works for you, makes sense for you. I've seen way too many people, Brian, and I used to be one of those, that said, oh my gosh, look, there's all these apps, and I'm sure at some point I'm probably going to use one or two of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and start getting the subscription. Chances are, if you don't have a true need for an app that you're going to use right away from this, don't go ahead and plunk down the money and get it with the hopes that you'll maybe make yourself use one in the future, because that's not the way it should work. I had to really see that there were 3 apps already in this subscription that I was already planning to either buy or already own some other way, and said, oh, well, this makes more sense to do it this way. That's when it became a good deal for me. So
Don't go pay for the buffet if it's a lot of crappy food.
It's a lot of crap.
Yeah. Right. If you look down and see, wait a minute, there's crab legs at the end, and I really wanted crab legs, and I was willing to pay this much for crab legs anyway, then yeah, it makes total sense, right? Because now you have some variety, plus you get a chance to expose yourself to other things. That's what I loved about this, was I could go and try these other things. And so, and I'm the same way. When I looked at Setapp, I had to do the search and say, are there at least 2 applications here that I literally would go and buy on my own? Like, I think they're useful enough that I need them and would want to buy them.
Yeah. Right.
And if so, it made sense, because I also know myself. I don't like to subscribe to things, but I also know that I like to try lots of things. I love to try new applications, see if something hits, see if something really kind of changes my efficiency. And this allowed me to do that, which was really exciting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it got to the point where financially I was just like, okay, I need to trim down some things. And, I made that decision. But I need to look back again. I need to look back and say, what's there, and are there things that I'm missing, or things that I'm, paying something to do a similar feature elsewhere, so that I can trim.
So Brian, if we had to kind of sum up, I'll pull this screen down. If we had to sum up in a way, kind of what the overall, let's just kind of lay them out, pros and cons. Let's just say the pros and cons of subscription-based software as it relates to compared to traditional purchase software. Okay. So I'll start off with a couple pros, if you want to throw a couple in as well.
Okay.
I think for most people, it is a lower cost of entry to use software you really want. Again, I think you ask anybody, do you want to pay $600 now to get this piece of software, or do you want to pay $30 a month? And if you're not 100% locked in on for sure that you're going to need that software for long term, I mean, it does make sense to do the monthly and just kind of be able to have that lower cost of entry to get started. So that's one pro there. Yeah.
I think another pro is that if you are, I think if you're honest with yourself and you look back at your, your application usage over the last couple of years, if you really look back and say, how many times have I started using an app and stopped using it? And even though I thought initially this is great and I'll use it forever, if you are that kind of person, think back about all of those and imagine if you had to buy them at all at high dollar and then you stop using them. It's Alan, I was in the fitness industry for a while, and of course, fitness industry, they made their living, health clubs make their living off of your initiation fee, not your monthly fee, because they know after three months after the first of the year, half of their people are not coming back anymore. Right. So they need to charge you more right up front, because they're worried you're not going to stick around long enough. Right. They're not going to stick with it. So if you had to buy all of these new apps that you wanted to try, that's a ton of money, and you're not getting your return on investment. So if you do like to try new things, which I do, I like to try new applications. I like to try to search for new ways that I could have efficiency. I'd much rather try them at a low cost point and, feel okay about moving away from it if it doesn't work. Now, that being said, I'll just give a quick con. Is that, as I said before, you can get sucked into those, and next thing you know, you're in lots of these, because it's the model of, all of those small price points are really small, and it's it's not, that doesn't hurt much, right? $3 here, that's not a lot. $2 here, that's not a lot. When you look at it all together, and most of these are going through different services, so it's not like you can go in one place and see all the services at one at one opportunity. So in that situation, it is, it's the creep model. It can creep and get and build up really, really quickly. So I would just, maybe my advice on that would be, do take advantage of usually there's 30-day trials. Take advantage of those trials. Don't just sign up for the trial and say, oh, that sounds great. No, purposely say, I'm going to sign up when I have time to truly use this thing. Like, I'm going to take that 7 days, or that 24 days, or whatever they're giving you, and I'm really going to put it through its paces and find out at the end, do I want to stick with this? Because
good call.
To me, subscription is actually a greater financial commitment in the long run. It's just you're
In
not
the long
having to
run,
make
sure.
it up front. So
Yeah. Well, now another pro on subscription, and this is not for everybody, but it may apply to some of you. Imagine if you've got a short-term need. You already know this is a short-term need I have for this application. It's like, yeah, I need Photoshop, but I only need it for this one project I'm working on. I want to work on it and to design this one piece, but when I'm done with it, I don't need it again. Those are perfect situations for a subscription, because then you're saying, yeah, okay, pay the monthly fee for the 2-3 months you need it and cancel it right when you're done. The great thing about these subscription models is that if you're paying monthly, there's no commitment. You can stop at any time. Now, they'll give you the option of paying your subscription on a yearly basis for a discounted rate, but you are paying for a full year. But I'm saying, if you know your needs are short term for whatever reason, whether you're trying it out short term or you truly have a short term project need or something you're trying to accomplish in a shorter period of time, subscription software is wonderful for that. So much better than investing in full price.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think a con is that, we need to make sure people remember, and you mentioned it right off the bat, Brian, it's like the apartment versus the house. You don't own this software.
Right.
If you subscribe to it. If you stop paying the monthly fee, the very second it shuts off, you do not have access to that application anymore.
Right.
And even if you've created all these files with that application, you've created all these beautiful photography projects and other things with it, you can't open them after that without paying for the app. So you do not own it. You are not able to sell that software to somebody else, which I think they kind of frown on that anyway, even with bought software. But in theory, you couldn't even say, oh, here's my serial number, I'm going to sell this to somebody else. No, you don't own it. So you are truly renting it on a month-to-month basis from the manufacturer. So just important to keep that in mind.
We did skip one pro, I think, which and you mentioned it earlier, but I mean, if you're someone, or if you're using software that is constantly being updated, and you're in an industry potentially, or a use case to where the newest standards are coming about, and you have to stay up to date on those things, subscription model is the way to go. That's why I think a lot of companies have decided, of course, all of our software people, yes, let's give them subscriptions, because they need the most up-to-date standard, right? We don't want to be, using 5-year-old software. We've got to stay up to date. And so I think that, if your use case is potentially going to be evolving, then it's better to be in a subscription where the software is going to be evolving. Rather than buying it and then you start running into the battle of 2 years from now, do I, pony up a lot more money again, right? So
I'll give one caution, and I don't think this is the case in most situations anymore, but it was early on. Be careful when comparing your subscription version to the bought version of software, because in the past there have been situations where some vendors, their subscription versions are maybe don't include some features, don't include some capabilities that the fully bought licensed software does. Now, I don't think that's the case for most big vendors anymore. I mean, Adobe, Microsoft, all of them. I mean, you're getting the full version of the apps.
Some of them might even be the opposite now.
Yeah, I think the subscription models
Microsoft 365, 365
right.
versus the standard. I mean, I think you're
but
getting
I know
more.
It used to be even with like iOS apps and mobile apps. It used to be like sometimes the bought version had more features than the one you pay 99 cents a month for, or something like that.
Right.
I don't think that's the case anymore, but still something to check out, and just make sure you're not getting shortchanged on the features because you're going to a subscription model for that software.
Yeah. But that's a really good point, because I think, I hadn't really thought about it that way, but it seems like that's the transition that software has made over the years. It used to be you buy it, right? And that was it. And then it became, so you buy it and you update it, right? So it was always big prices.
Yeah, one-time purchase.
Exactly. And you had to budget that out for 5 years down the road to do it again. Then it went to, okay, we're going to let you dabble in this for a subscription, but our hope is that you love it enough and you want the big features and you'll buy the big amount of money, right? So we realized 30 days wasn't enough for you to really figure it out. We'll let you try it, but we want you using it, get something out of you, and then hopefully you go ahead and realize, hey, long term, I'm better to go ahead and pay you $300 now. And now I think it's completely swung the other way, which is we really would rather be able to count on you every month and just have you be a constant user forever. Well, and
I think from a business standpoint, I mean, I just had a conversation about that today. I mean, clients that pay you a set amount per month, every month, is a lot better than big projects that you kind of have to win, and then you got to wait and see when the next one comes down the road. Same thing with the software industry. If they know that, hey, look, we're getting $30 a month from this many people, and even if so many people drop off every month and so many people add on, we still have a constant revenue flow. So much better than, we sold a bunch of software, but then maybe the next month we didn't sell as many. And when we don't know, we have to wait and release another version in a year just to try to bump back up our sales again.
Yeah.
So, I get it. I totally get it. I could argue that for the consumer, if somebody likes having a fixed budget per month of knowing this is what I'm spending every month, there's not going to be any big purchases I have to do at some point in the future, subscription kind of works for them as well too. So I don't like having Microsoft send me a bill or a reminder that says, oh, by the way, it's about time to buy your software. It's going to cost $150 and here you go. If you would rather have a flat monthly fee that you want to budget for. So
yeah.
This may all be, we're going to wrap this up, Brian. This may all be a moot point though. I mean, as I think just about every software manufacturer has moved to some form of subscription for the most part. There's still some outliers that don't, but I take it back. I did find one piece of software on my computer that outside of the Apple apps, that I pay a one-time fee for, and that's Parallels, the virtual machine I use to run Windows on my Mac. That is a one-time
Kind of surprised
purchase.
they haven't gone to subscription though.
Me too.
Because that one requires an awful lot of updating, right? You would think.
They may offer a subscription. I don't know. I'm not saying that they don't offer one. It's just my software that I own right now on my computer is a bought license for it. So
Alan, before we leave this, I just wanted to, and this is a slight tangent, but I think it's related enough that we should mention it. I agree with you that subscription is going to be where the large majority of software is going to be going forward. But I also think that the decision then for most people is not necessarily do I buy or do I subscribe? It's going to be, do I go with the free version or not? And I just want to remind people, we've mentioned this in a previous episode, Alan, but really be careful with free software. I love free software too, especially if it's something that looks cool, that it's like, wow, I get to use this and I don't have to pay for it. I get to try things out. But just keep in mind that rarely is software truly free. It may be free for you not paying money, but the decision really ought to be that if they're not charging me, one, it's probably not going to be updated in the future. Which if I'm something that really gets excited about it, then I'm going to be stuck in the future. It's going to stop working. And the other is that they're probably making their money in other ways, like taking your information, selling your data.
Very true.
Giving you ads that can be really frustrating and all of that. So I do think that, it's gone to subscription is going to be it. But I think now that the battle is going to be subscription versus free. And free, whether that's truly free. I'm in the camp that if it's a good software, I'd much rather pay for an iOS app, for example, that's $3 than one that's free. If I know I really like it, like if I did a trial and I like it, I'd rather pay for it, because one, I think that is now getting that person some money to where they're going to continue to keep this app working. Because if I don't pay them, I know they're going to have to get it somewhere, and most likely they're going to be taking my data to do it or doing some nefarious things. So I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but just keep in mind that when we're thinking of this, free isn't always free, and free isn't always the best. So
it's a public service announcement from Brian Jackson on Brothers in Tech. Thank you. So so software versus purchase subscription versus purchase software. I'm in favor of subscriptions. I love them, but I do agree. You have to do your math. You got to do your homework. You got to make sure it's the right fit for you, and don't just knee jerk go out and buy a subscription on the whim that you think you may use a piece of software at some point down the road. don't start subscribing until you know there's an absolute need to start using it or
Yeah.
right now need it. And then when you're done using it and you don't need it again, stop the subscription. Don't keep it around unless you need
That's
it.
right.
So
That's right. And take advantage of that trial. Do take
oh
advantage
yeah,
of the
trials are
trial,
good. Absolutely.
and put it through its paces. So,
Okay,
all right,
Brian, we got through the meat and potatoes of the show. Let's get to the fun little bit.
cool. Let's do
We had
that.
our holidays. You and I both got at least one piece of tech that we
Yeah,
got over the holiday time. I think you got maybe a couple. I've got
I
one I'm going
did.
to
Yeah.
show, but I'm excited to talk about these gifts we received.
Okay.
So do
Right.
you have one you
Well,
want to share first?
I've got two. I'm going to share
Okay.
two, and they're from the same company. I bought them at the same time, and yes, I did buy them. So I'm not um, a my wife and I are not Christmas gift people. We don't give each other gifts,
Yeah.
and partly we've realized over time that I have a better decision on what I want than she does, and vice versa. So,
Yeah.
but my tech purchases for the Christmas, where I kind of got an itch to try something new, was through a company called Renpho. Alan, I think
Mhm.
we talked about this company before. Renpho.
I have a product by Renfro in the house.
Okay. Yep.
I have a
So
scale. So yeah.
I do too. Okay. So yeah, that's the scale I had. This is the one you must have had prior to or after the Wise, right? You
Yeah.
got the Winpro
Hmm.
instead. And the scale's been great. I've had the
Hmm.
scale for years, and actually
It's
it's been
good.
really good. It's a Bluetooth scale that will kind of track your weight. So I decided to give them another shot, a a piece of tech that has received a lot of attention lately. A lot of people are going gaga over these things. Is a massage gun. So, Alan, I don't know if you have or have used a massage gun yet.
Hmm.
Okay,
I have not.
let me share with you real quick
I'm
here.
actually, yeah, I'm not even able to visualize what this thing is. So
Okay.
it's ready to show.
Yep, ready to show.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a
Wow.
massage
Wow.
gun, right? So
Okay.
massage guns are, I don't know, they've become really popular. It's basically using kind of vibration or continual pressure as a massager. You know, like you've seen massage where you roll out the muscle, right? Kind of have kind of bars that you roll over your muscles after workouts and things like that. Massage guns are, it's basically a repetitive pressure. So you turn it on and it's almost like a jackhammer that this thing goes at a pretty high rate, and then you kind of work out your you work out your muscle. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
these things
Hmm.
have gotten a lot of attention, mainly because what it does, you know, physiologically is, well, it's going to apply pressure just like stretching would and rolling out a muscle would, but because it does it with this kind of additional vibration, I think it gets more blood flow to the part of the body and all of that. So, you know, I'd heard about them. Obviously, we had done some research on them and seen that they do have some decent results. But there's been more recently, Alan, there's a couple of studies that were done that showed that using this before bed got you to sleep earlier, got you longer REM sleep, right? It was basically kind of increasing blood flow that allowed you to get in a relaxed state a little bit quicker. So I was like, you know what? They were running a special. As you can see, this is the actual one that I bought, and I bought
Yeah.
it for less expensive than that,
Wow.
actually, which, you know, $250 is, there's no way in the world I would have spent $250 on something like this. Even 80, I think, is maybe a bit much. You can get these, you can get fairly good versions of these for $20, $30. Lots of
Okay.
places are selling them. Um, but I did want one that I knew, you know, the stats that you look for if you're interested in one of these is sound, right? You want one that's not incredibly loud. And the rate, the number of levels that you can use is kind of the increase the frequency of the vibration. Um, and then charge, not charge, you know, real batteries, all of that stuff. So this one's rechargeable. And yeah, I'll actually pull it up here so
Are
you
those
can see
different
it, Alan, the
attachments
size of it.
along the
Yes,
bottom? Are those different attachments you put on the
they are.
front?
They are.
Okay.
You can see this comes off the
Oh yeah.
front, right?
Hmm.
And Now, I'll go into it personally. I don't see how in the world anyone can use any of those other attachments, because they're all like, those are hard plastic attachments. This is more like a foam ball on the end.
Okay.
So I'm gonna.
You mind firing it up for us?
I'm turning it on here. Right. So you can see here on the back, it's got the let's see, charge level. Right. It also has the level at which you're using it. So it's a touch screen. Oh, let's see. Am I touching it? Oh, it turned off. I didn't touch it quick enough. So if I, sorry, I guess I didn't put the attachment back on hard enough.
Did it just fall apart when you started it?
Yes. Okay. So you can hear now, right?
Okay.
And then you can see the vibration that's happening on the end.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I can click it up to.
Oh, wow.
I've actually never gone beyond 2, 6. Yeah. Ooh. So, and what you do is you use this, go on the muscle, right? And you can hear me not changing my voice here, right? That's all it really does, right? It's like a massager that has some, electric pressure to it. Some vibration.
Right. So that's from Renfo.
It's worked really well. Renfo power massage gun. You'll notice let me go back. They actually have a number of these massage guns. You'll see they have several different versions, right?
Oh, like a little mini one there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tiny one, which I was thinking about doing. Because then you could take it with you traveling and all of that. This is one of those that is kind of nice in that you could actually reach your back, which is, of course, one of the hardest parts of having the gun, is that it's great for the legs, not so great for the back, right? I can't really reach it, so you almost have to have someone else use it with you. But you can see that, and so they're good. So far, this has been fine. I'm not really sure I'm thrilled by the massage gun world in general. I'm using it after workouts and after runs. I haven't done it enough yet to really know if it's changing sleep patterns or anything like that. But if you are in the market for it, Renfo, I've been impressed with the build of it. I've been impressed with the use case, the battery life. I've only charged it once and used it maybe 10 times so far, and the battery still shows full. So
great.
Yeah, so that's that was my first purchase. The other one, I don't know if you want me to jump into it now, because I bought them.
Why don't you go ahead and do that?
From the same company.
We'll save the best for last here. So go ahead and get yours out of the way. Yeah.
Well, and let me actually jump back here, and if you'll notice over here, you can see how I was buying the massage gun, and Renfo was running a really good deal at the time, which was if you spend $100, it was 20% off of everything. So I was, at this point, it was $80 for this. And then I added, and this is actually less now, but I added this smart jump rope. All right. So I'm going to jump over to the smart jump rope. And so I added it, which of course then, put my total of those two things together. I think it was about $80. So a smart jump rope, this is going to sound incredibly corny, and I'm still looking at this going, I don't know why I spent a lot of money on it, but I'm excited about it. So what it is exactly what it says. It's a jump rope that will that has a digital screen on it that will keep track of the jumps that you do. It'll time. So if you want to set and say, I want to jump for 2 minutes, you can set the timer and it'll beep at you afterwards, and it'll count the number of jumps that you're doing during that. There's a set of Bluetooth or application workouts. So you can say, give me a workout to do with the jump rope, and it'll say, okay, great, you're going to do this number of jumps in this amount of time. And then, okay, now when that's done, take a break. And then it's going to basically lead you through a jump rope workout. I've always loved using a jump rope. It was, to me, a great way that doesn't kill my knees, that can do a decent workout. So I was interested in giving it a try. Now, here's my caveat. Okay, I got it in the mail along with my massage gun. I opened it up. I put the batteries in it, and nothing happened. And so immediately I, of course, got very upset, tried new batteries, everything. nothing happened. And so I reached out to the company, and they sent back a big list of, well, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? So of course I was frustrated, and I was like, of course I did that. And they said, please take a video of it, upload the video so that we can see what's going on. And of course, when I pulled it out of the box again, put the batteries in, it worked. right when I was getting ready to do the video, it worked. So I emailed them and said, well, it looks like, because I tried new batteries. I said, it looks like it might have been the batteries. All good. Thank you. Everything works. Set it down, and then about an hour later, I was going to go and give it a try, and it wouldn't turn on again. And so what's weird is that this seems to have a hard sleep to it, that mine has an issue waking up from the hard sleep. And when it does, so like if I took the batteries out, put them back in, it wakes up again. If I press the button and wait maybe 2 minutes, it tends to come back on. When it's on, it's great. I went and tried it. I loved it. But I think I may have got a bad one that has some sort of wake up problem. But it again, super, super cool. For what I paid, which I think was, about more like $20. They're metal handles, Alan, as you can see here. Right. And you just set the length that you want. And of course, I'm sure it won't come on now. Even if I wanted it to. No, I'm going to have to give it a minute, and it'll probably turn on. But when it's on, you can then set which mode you want. Is it free jump? Is it, I just heard the beep. Yeah, it just came on. So it's got some sort of delay in terms of turning on, but free jump, do you want to jump for time, or do you want to do one of the workouts? What I do love is that it will then input that into your phone, into the health app, into the Renfro health app that says, here's a workout that you did. It kind of estimates the calories, all of that. So again, another way of just getting more health information put into and give myself hopefully another way of exercising. So motivating.
That's great, Brian. Are you done with all this boring stuff?
Well, I just did 2 things that were about improving my health and moving more. Tell me what you're doing to improve your movement, Alan.
Nothing, which is what's so great about it. This is the antithesis of the things you just recommended, and that those 2 things are meant to help you get active and try to get you doing things, or try to get you, feeling better about yourself. And mine is simply, I want to sit on my butt in my theater room and have my curtains open and close automatically. So I finally bit the bullet. I've been working on this for a while, been doing a lot of research and having to really figure out what's going to work for my curtains in this room that I'm in right now. So I only have one installed, and I'll show you. I mean, it works on this window back over my shoulder. But I got the first one in and tested it out just kind of as a proof of concept to make sure it was going to work. Automatic curtain openers may sound like a really trivial thing. And yeah, it is. It's very, very trivial, but I don't know why it's so important to me that I get it to where these things open and close on their own. So the idea is that you have many different types of curtains. There's the one that's on a rod, and you've got, hooks attached to a curtain that the hooks are actually on the rod. You've got some of the curtains on tracks where it's like they're on the sliding track, and you've got to be able to use that. So I've got a pair of curtains here. They're called back tab, which is where it's curtain, but then there's a kind of a tab on the back of it, and that's where the pole slides through those tabs. And trying to find a automatic curtain opener that would work with these was kind of a chore, because the one I had planned to go with initially was the Quora one, was not going to work with this. But I did find one that does work. It is called, I've got the title up here, the SwitchBot curtain. And just to show you really quick, the one that I've got, I can show you. If you look over my whatever shoulder, my left shoulder, it'll be on the right for you guys looking at this. Right. If I go and close it, you can see it is closing in the background there. One side. Now, this is a little motor that is actually hanging on the rod behind the curtain, and it is basically pushing and pulling the end of the curtain up and down the rod. So if I go to tilt open, now that little motor is sliding down the curtain rod and opening up.
So is it a wheel that's kind of rolling on the
Yeah,
on
let
the
me
rod?
show you. I'll show you what it looks like here. I got a close up of it. So this is the device, the SwitchBot curtain. These two hooks that are kind of those two protruding hooks over the top are what fit onto the rod itself.
Hmm.
And you can see it's got rollers built into those hooks. So those are rollers that what you do is you put it, see if I can show you. Yeah.
So you're
You
clamping
can
it on.
see it's
Okay.
on the rod there. It's clamped on the rod. And when you press or you tell it the command to move or to open or close, it's basically using the rollers on those clamps and rolling up or down. So all it's doing is pushing or pulling the curtain along with it. It's a pretty simple concept, but they do make multiple versions of this. They have different attachments. So, for example, if you're using it on a track-based system, there's different attachments you can put on it to make it ride within a track. Or there's another one based on whatever kind of curtain rods and track system you've got to use. Mine, I am using the hooks because that's what you use for a traditional rod. And there's some other little clips you put on some of the other tabs on the curtain. And I don't know if those clips, like whenever this main unit rolls closed and it detects that it's butting up against those other clips, that's kind of its sign to stop because it knows that all these clamps have now kind of rammed together, and then it opens all the way up. I'm not quite sure the mechanics of how it does it, but I just had to train it one time and say, okay, put it in a position. The app's like, all right, is the window open or closed right now? I'm like, it's open. They say, cool. And they said, okay, push the button, roll it. And it rolled and pulled it out. It was great. So like within 2 minutes, I had it up and running. And now, yes, ideally, as you can see behind me, if I did want to do this with all my curtains, I have 2 windows in here. I'm going to need 3 more of these guys.
Ooh,
That's the thing that's painful, is these things are not cheap. I got mine for $79 on a deal. So normally they're priced at $99. So I'm just kind of, I wanted to make absolutely sure that this is the best route to take with this before I started plunking down any more investment. I will eventually soon try to start peppering the rest of them out there. But now the thing that happens here is that right now I'm controlling it with the app, the SwitchBot app it comes with that works through Bluetooth. But if I want these to work over home automation, HomeKit, anything else, I do have to get the $20 hub that SwitchBot makes with yet another hub to deal with, which I'm also not crazy about, but that is something I need to have happen, because the whole goal is here to walk in this room and say, if it's movie time, lights go down, projector turns on, and the curtains close. And that's kind of the ultimate goal here. So
nice.
And Brian, what's a little thing like money going to keep me from fulfilling my dream?
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
As a little kid, I can remember my parents asked me kind of what I hope to be able to do in my life as I grew up. And I remember saying, I really want, just like in the movie theater, I want my curtains to close and open automatically.
Yep.
So I'm working towards my dream, Brian.
Save those calories of actually having to reach up there and pull them.
I am 1/4 of the way towards the pinnacle of what I consider to be really my life.
Your true sedentary lifestyle. Yes,
it is. It's close. Now, for those of you that want to chime in with Brian and joke about the fact that I don't want to do anything, let me just go ahead and say the point that while I'm building this, I've also built a home gym down in my basement with some exercise machines that I'm using daily. So that is my counteracting. I'm downstairs working out. Then I come up here at the end of the workday and I just sit on my butt and let all these machines do everything for me.
Yes. So, perfect. Yeah. Yep.
Good.
No, that's cool.
That is the SwitchBot curtain. It is a good product. It's very easy to install, very simple, but $99. So
are those rollers?
To invest in this.
The rollers themselves, are they? I assume they're like a rubber kind of roller that grips a little.
There's a grip.
Does it say that you need to clean them every once in a while? Imagine if they get dusty, they could slip or something. Or do you know? Is it pretty tight on them?
It's very tight. They're actually
it is tight. Okay.
There's a spring on those little metal pieces. You actually have to pull those hooks up to get it on your rod. So it actually like has a spring to like clamp down on the rod. It's a pretty tight connection to it. So yeah. I've been very impressed with the product, very impressed with the company so far. And I'll let you know when I get the other 3 eventually installed and ready to go. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for your, move to the sedentary lifestyle. And no, the automation stuff is just, I mean, it's just really cool if you have a series of things that you want to do to either, in your case, make it really cool, but if in other cases it's to be more efficient or to, I mean, I could also see, if you're away and you realize you're not going to get back home in time and you wanted your curtains closed so that people aren't seeing what's going on in your house, and you could close your curtains from another location. I think there's lots of things that it could be useful for, but.
Well, and even in the SwitchBot app, before I even connected up to HomeKit or any of that, you can create scenes and say like it's sunset. I want them to go ahead and close or open, whichever you choose to do. So you can go ahead and set it on some things. You can tie it into, I think you can attach some sort of motion detector to it if you want to say like when people come in the room, open them up or close them. But the ultimate goal is going to be getting them connected to HomeKit and be able to say with a voice command, everything happen and make that work. So that's what I'm working towards. So.
Well, and maybe not just for convenience, but there are sometimes people have really, really tall windows and, things where they don't want to have to continue to, yank them closed. I don't know if that same company makes my wife and I used to have skylights where we always dreamed of having some, skylight curtains or skylight blinds or something that could be done through automation. And, I think those are where you start to realize there's some, not just efficiencies, but also, improving the quality of what you have, like in maintaining your home. So,
and you brought up a great point too. I mean, when you leave the home, you leave your house for any extended amount of time and you have curtains like these that are they're visible right from the street that goes right by our house. So if, somebody wanted to be able to glance inside and see if, anybody was home or not, they could do it very easily. To be able to be away and be like, oh yeah, I forgot to close the curtains. Just hit a button. No, they're going to close is priceless. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's great.
So good. Okay. Awesome. Well, that was our Christmas gifts we got we got it for ourselves, right?
Totally.
Nobody bought this for me. I bought this completely for myself.
It's the best. It's the best Christmas presents.
I love Christmas time. It's so great. So, all right. Well, Brian, if anybody has any thoughts on anything we shared today, if they've got some thoughts on software subscriptions and maybe some pros and cons or helpful hints about subscriptions that we didn't think about or didn't mention, or they want to share their own Christmas gifts, what they got for themselves over the holidays from a home technology, personal home tech type of thing, how can they go about getting a hold of us?
Yeah, send us an email at info@themesh.tv, and we'd love to pass along some of your suggestions. Some of the things we've suggested have come from our listeners, and we appreciate that. So keep those coming. You can also go to our website at www.brothers-in-tech.com to be able to see current and previous episodes and maybe some additional information. So
cool. All right. Well, we're going to go and wrap it up. Thanks for everybody for listening or watching. I hope you found an hour and 20 minutes.
I was expecting 4, but that's good.
See, I set an expectation.
That's right.
Of a very long episode, and the fact that we came out under that expectation,
overpromise, underdeliver. Very nice.
Yep, that's right.
That's good stuff.
So we'll be back next week for our 5-hour episode marathon that we're planning on doing. We're going to have tons of stuff to cover. We'll be back probably next week, and I look forward to talking to everybody then. So thanks a lot, everybody.
All right.
See ya.
Bye-bye.